Think about government emergency programs. Now think about YouTube's habit of promising us weird life hacks for life's little problems. Is there something similar between these two things? Well, yes there is, and in this video, we're going to talk about it.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now waiting, better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything.
Hey everybody, this is Praxis, and in this video I want to talk about something that's been kind of floating around in my mind recently, and it relates to present and recent events and historical events going back through time. Whenever there is a situation when there's some kind of a problem, there's some kind of a crisis, the government always wants to have some kind of a answer that they offer up to people. We're facing this challenge, but just do this one simple thing, this one weird life hack. The internet is just like this. Like, you got a problem, just do this one thing, and all your problems are going to be solved. The government works the same way as those kind of clickbait thumbnails on YouTube, where they promise this one weird life hack, and it will make whatever crisis situation we're facing go away. When I was first growing up, there was like the Gulf War, and it was just like all we need to do is get rid of Saddam Hussein, and all our problems will be just magically they'll all just go away. After 9/11, all we need to do is go into Iraq again, and all our problems will be solved. And we'll go into Afghanistan, and all our problems will be solved. Environmental issues that we're looking at. I know through most of my life, it was just all you got to do is recycle. You just recycle, and then the environmental challenges that we're facing are all just going to magically go away. With the recent issue with COVID, it was just there's this new germ going around, but just do this one thing and your life can go back to normal. This one weird life hack. Anyway, the point is that the government doesn't like these types of ridiculous weird life hacks that they recommend to be questioned, but we really have to be on guard. What we've been experiencing for the last several decades, and I was just talking to my mother about this the other day. I was visiting with her. She's in the baby boom generation. I'm somewhere between Gen X and Gen Y. I'm in this allegedly this weird gap that's between the two of them, where I don't really feel like I fit in with either of them completely. But we were talking about how like her generation and my generation, we really got to experience kind of the sweet spot in American history, at least recent American history, where she was born. It was right after the Second World War. People were just sick and tired of killing and dying and fighting wars with each other, and there was this prosperity, and she really got to enjoy that for the vast majority of her life. And there were several decades of that I got to enjoy, and a lot of the people who are alive today think that that's all that can ever be, because that's kind of all that they've ever known. But again, I look at that as being kind of like a sweet spot. It's like the top of a bell curve. You go up, you enjoy it. And are you attacking me? This little white chicken always attacks. Don't you okay, just don't go for the face. You want to? No! Oh, thank you. The big rooster comes in, and he makes sure that the little one doesn't do that. Thank you for defending me. Where was I? I could edit that out, but I bet that's pretty entertaining, so I'm going to keep that in. So we're at that sweet spot. Don't you think about doing it again. Don't you do that again. We're going to be going back into what is not the high point of our civilization. And it's not to say that our civilization couldn't reach another high point in the future, but we've kind of burned through the fuel on this one. At least that's my feeling. That's one of the reasons why I prep. I prep for lots of little things, but I also prep for big things, and this is one of those bigger, longer term kinds of issues. So as we go down on that other side of the curve, there's going to be lots of problems. There's going to be lots of challenges, and I don't really like to think about it in terms of problems. I like to think about it in terms of like challenges, because for every kind of a challenge situation, there are pluses and there are minuses to it. Just taking something like, if half of everyone on the earth died, that would be horrible. I mean, it'd be terrible to, you know, lose half of everybody that you know, but there would certainly be upsides to that in terms of, like, you know, overpopulation and resource scarcity and all of that. You know, there would be upsides to that. You know, generally, if you look at both sides of a situation, people tend to call you a monster if you don't only fixate on the negative. You know, depending on what it is. And sometimes, in some cases, if you don't only fixate on the positive, people call you crazy. If you're, you know, the one person that says, you know, this joyride might not end well. Maybe we want to at least buckle up. It's like, you crazy person. How come you're always like what's a cliche for somebody that's opposite of a Pollyanna? I don't know. You can put it in the comments below what people might call you if you are, you know, acknowledging that things have both pluses and minuses to them. You know, sometimes you're supposed to ignore all the pluses, sometimes you're supposed to ignore all the minuses, and if you don't, you know, follow the pack and drink the Kool-Aid, you know, and you're out of sync with people, you know, have something to say about that. But as we go down on that other side of things, it's going to be the same kind of thing as I mentioned at the beginning, where the government is going to have these weird life hacks, these really simple solutions, and my guess is they're probably going to make about as much sense and be about as effective as all of the solutions and weird life hacks that the government has pumped out to us in the past. And we really need to keep that in mind, because everybody around us is going to be, well, not everybody, most people around us are going to be in that lockstep where, you know, there's a situation and everyone's supposed to think it's all great and there's no downsides, or this situation and everyone's supposed to think it's all bad and there's no upsides. And there's a situation and all we got to do is do this one weird life hack and it'll all just go back, and we go back to normal and forever be at the top of that sweet spot where the sweet spot will never end, because everybody's going to want to believe that that's true. And there's going to be a lot of pressure, coming from all directions on us. And we really need to keep our guard up, because there are going to be people that are going to be telling us the glass is definitely half empty, and there's going to be people telling us that it's definitely half full, and there's going to be people that are going to be telling us it's completely empty, and there's going to be people telling us it's completely full, and everybody's going to have their agenda. But we need to make sure that we keep clear eyes on things and be realistic about the chances of a lot of these weird life hacks actually working, because sometimes there are solutions that don't have any weird life hack simple solutions to them. That's just the reality. Everybody wants to believe that you just do this one thing, just take this injection, just recycle, you know, put this can in the right colored container, just have your army invade the right country and everything will go back to normal and everything will go back to that sweet spot. But it's just the reality is that's not always the case, and people don't like to believe that, because people want things easy, people want things quick. At least here in our culture, that's the way that people think. They always want everything easy, they always want everything quick, and they always want everything black and white, and something's either one thing or the other, and if you see any shades of gray in there, the white side thinks you're crazy because you're seeing dark, and the dark side thinks you're crazy because you're seeing light. So keep clarity in your mind, listen to people, and just keep that in mind, that there is going to be a lot of pressure for conformity, because especially when people don't believe internally in their inner better judgment, especially when people don't believe what they're telling you that they believe, they are going to be so much more militant and so much more adamant that you need to believe it, because they'll need you to believe it in order to give themselves comfort and give themselves a sense that they're not wrong, that they're not crazy. I find that with especially, you know, people who are religious extremists, you know, the people that really, really believe their religion, they don't feel the need to lash out at others because they're comfortable in it. And it's like, you know, if you don't want to believe that, that's, you know, fine. You know, I feel 100% comfortable in, you know, my worldview, and it doesn't threaten me that you don't agree with that. It's the people that are new to a faith that, you know, don't quite feel it internally inside. Those are the ones that are going to be the most violent about lashing out at others if other people don't 100% agree and corroborate what they want to believe, but inside, either here or both, you know, they can't really digest, they can't really wrap their mind around, because it doesn't make sense. They know it doesn't make sense, and there's going to be a lot of pressure from them for you to tell them that they're right by you agreeing that they are right. So that's going to be what the next several years are going to be like. So be on guard for it, and I guess just always come back to that place in yourself and think about what really makes sense to you, and wherever you have gotten yourself to, always think about double checking in on that, and confirm that you're not getting that kind of group bias, because we're all susceptible to it when you live and you marinate in all this. And I remember during COVID, during that thing, it never made sense to me that that was going to work. I was open to the idea that maybe that was going to work, but I was really skeptical. It just did not make sense that it would have worked for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But when everybody else was on board with that, I was really questioning myself a lot. Like, are you just set in your ways? Did you had this idea that you didn't think it was going to work, and are you being obstinate? Are you being obstinate and blinding yourself to evidence that maybe you were wrong about that? And I was always checking in. It's really important to. As it turns out, I think the facts on the ground at the moment demonstrate that all of my skepticism was merited, and I feel comfortable with that. But I was always double checking and always questioning myself, and it's important that you and I continue to do that over the next several years, because there's going to be a lot of pressure to conform. There's going to be a lot of pressure to get on board, because people are going to have a lot of crazy solutions that really aren't going to make a lot of sense if you think about it, because the problems are in many instances intractable, and they're going to be difficult to solve, and people are not going to be wanting to adopt solutions that are difficult, and not going to be wanting to really change anything in their lives. They're going to want a quick, easy fix, and then everything goes back to normal, and that's not always the case. And I think over the next several years it's not going to be the case, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on all of us to believe, or seem to believe, that we think it is the case, that these are easy things and all we got to do is that one weird life hack. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this video where I talk more specifically about what I see coming over the next year.